there everyone, what's going on? It's Kira Major here. Welcome back to my channel. Thanks for tuning in again, Mayflower Army. Before I get started with the video, make sure you hit the like button if you enjoyed this video and give it a thumbs up. Make sure you share on social media, and last but not least, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. That way you're notified every time I upload a video, just like this one. So, this is a video I just got the idea to make tonight because it's been about a year to the date now. So last year, I'll just say the title of the video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about, over the last year, recovering from, Chestnut Ridge. This is pretty much a mental health update. 1 year post-recovery from my real bad psychotic break where I was near suicide, and I decided I wanted to get myself help. So, I'm not going to cover too much about, I'll talk about a little bit, what led me in Chestnut Ridge. But there's a video down below. I'll put a link in. I'll talk about that here in a minute. So, around last April, I started my night terrors kicked back up, and they started getting more intense and more fierce from my history of sexual assaults and from a very abusive ex-boyfriend. So around, around April 2017, they kicked up, and right around, probably it was beginning to mid-May of last year, my night terrors were I couldn't sleep. I was so sleep deprived, and it was getting to my depression and anxiety. So after 3 years clean, I self-harmed again for the first time. And so after that, at the time, Marlene, that's who I was living with, she freaked out and wanted me to get help or wanted me to stop. So I promised. I said I would stop, and tried to cope different ways and just tried to hold a lot of it in. So, like I said, I was battling my, from around April and throughout May, I was battling my night terrors and getting very little to no sleep. And it's just, after so many months, around end of May, early June, it started really taking its toll on me. I wasn't sleeping, I was getting sleep deprived, I was extremely depressed. And I guess started going to school less and less. I was still going to beauty school at this point. So I slowly started going less and less and less. And after, after 2.5, almost 3 months of night terrors, I was just to the point where, beginning of June, I was just in such a bad, mental place. I had such a bad mentality. It got to the point where I not only stopped going to school, I started calling off work. I wouldn't leave my bedroom. I wouldn't eat. All I did was lay in bed with my door locked, and Marlene, that's who I was living with at the time, and she was super, super worried about me, and everybody, a lot of people didn't know, people who, unless you lived with me or lived around me or came over my apartment, you didn't know, I was isolating myself. I was still trying to stay, active online to, act like I'm A-okay, and act like nothing was wrong. But in reality, I was slowly breaking inside. Like I said, I wasn't, the night terrors were driving me to the point where I was getting maybe an hour of sleep a night. I was afraid to go to sleep because I knew what was going to happen when I went to sleep. I'd wake up in tears, and I didn't want to deal with that, so I pretty much just stopped sleeping. I mean, eventually, every once in a while I would fall asleep from, exhaustion and whatnot. But so after so long of that, after about a week of that, I finally forced myself to go to work one night. I stopped calling off. I went into work, and it was a miserable night. I hated it. I didn't want to be there. I just wanted to go back in my room in my isolation. I was just thinking, what have I done? So after that night of work, this was June 15th, I didn't want to be around anybody. I was forced to interact with people at work. I worked at McDonald's at the time, so, obviously I'm forced to interact with my coworkers. I'm forced to interact with people the whole night at work, unless I was talking to a customer. I didn't say anything, unless it was a customer, or unless my boss had to directly ask me something. I didn't say a word that night, and so after I got off work, I walked home, and I had a complete breakdown when I got home, and I was at this point I was having severe thoughts of suicide, and like I said, some of the night terrors and the sleep like it's not sleeping, and after months of night terrors and just it taking its toll on me mentally and at this point physically, like I said, wasn't eating, wasn't sleeping, wasn't interacting with people unless it was online, and even then I wasn't doing very much interaction. I was just posting a status here and there or a tweet just so people knew like I was alive, and like just so people thought I was A-okay. So real quick though, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. So like while like around the beginning of June, like I said, my like night terrors were slowly driving me crazy, and just, I wasn't sleeping. And so some friends of mine, they had known about my sexual assault and me getting raped in the past, and they knew a little bit about my ex and the past other experiences, and they decided, they're like, well, they didn't decide, but a few of them started pushing me, saying, well, you should record a video on it. And like at first I was really leery. I was like, I don't know. And they said recording a video might help. It'll get your story out there. It could help other people. Like talking about it might help in a video. So I started thinking about it. I was thinking, okay, I guess this might be a good idea. So I don't remember what the day I uploaded the video was last year. The link for this video will be in the description below, but it's where I talked about my sexual assault and my rape for the first time publicly on YouTube, and like I said, I thought it would help. And when I first like recorded it, like recording it just took its toll on me. I thought like I was gonna be okay, and at first I thought I felt better, and I was like, this did help. But after a very, very brief, after maybe like a day or two, like so that's when my night terrors kicked in full gear, and like I said, that's when, leading up to June 15th, that's when everything went downhill. That's when those couple days, like in between when I recorded the video, edited it, uploaded it, and then the time June 15th came around, like I said, it completely took its toll on me. I was having thoughts of suicide at this point, and like I said, we'll fast forward now to, like I said, I went to work, forced myself to interact with people. And after a little while of just not leaving my room, calling off work, not going to school, not eating. Sorry, I feel like I set my teeth. Anyways, so, like I said, June 15th came around. This was, like I said, I keep saying June 15th, but that's the day, all this happened, like, when all this, like, escalated to its final peak, so like I said, I had forced myself to go to work, interact with people, and then I walked home, and on the walk home, I was thinking to myself, because I lived about a mile from where I worked, so I just walked. I didn't have a car at the time. So I was thinking, tonight's gonna be it. Tonight, like, I can't do this anymore. I can't deal with the no sleep. I can't deal with the no, I can't deal with it all. Sorry. Anyways, so on a walk home from work, I was just thinking to myself, tonight's gonna be it. Like, I told myself, it's either I get help or I'm gonna be hanging from my balcony in the morning. And as much as I thought that would have helped, and as much as I thought that, like, would have been the answer, part of me knew it wasn't, just because, like, I have a lot of people who care about me, and I know that. Like, I'm not one of those people who doesn't think they have anyone that cares about them, but I know I do. So, like, so on that mile walk home from work that night, I was thinking, like, either I get help, or tonight's it. So, like I said, after, like, thinking about that on the walk home from work, I walked into my apartment. At this point, I was bawling, and, like, Marlene looked at me and said, "What's wrong?" And I said, I gotta go to the hospital. And at first, I just went in the room. I just went into the house. I dropped like, my keys and everything. I walked out the door, and I didn't live very far from where the hospital was at. I live pretty close to Ruby Hospital, so after I walked out of my apartment, and I got a little bit down the road, and I was just thinking, I was like, I need to go home, and I need to explain this to Marlene. I need to get some stuff, because, like, I didn't have anything. I literally left the apartment with my I was still in my McDonald's uniform. Sorry, guys. I haven't talked about this in a year, so it brings up a little bit of memories and emotions. But so after like I said, after that year, after like I said, I stormed in the house crying, and Marlene looks at me and says, "What's wrong?" And so does Kylia. Kylia was one of Marlene's friends who was living with us at the time, and she says, "What's wrong?" and whatnot, and like I said, I dropped my stuff off and I left the apartment, and like I got a little bit down the road, and I was just thinking, I was like, I need to go explain this. I need to. Sorry, guys. So I got down the road a little bit, and like I said, I turned back around, and I knew I had to explain it to them. I knew I couldn't. I knew I couldn't just leave without like giving them an explanation, because like Marlene knew, like I'm sure they knew something was wrong. Like I said, I wasn't eating, I wasn't leaving my room, I wasn't sleeping. I was just laying in my room crying, being to myself, trying to act okay on social media and online. When in reality, I was falling apart inside. So I got back to the apartment, and I remember I don't remember, like, I remember a little bit when I got back to the apartment, because like I said, at this point I was just in such a bad mental and emotional state. And I know I gave Marlene and Kylie a hug, and they talked to me a little bit about it, and I told them what was going on, about like how I hadn't been sleeping, and they knew I wasn't really eating very much, because I was barely leaving my bedroom. The only time I would leave my bedroom is if there was no one home, and I knew I was I knew if I left my room, the isolation was still going to be there because there was no one around in the apartment. So I knew, like I said, no one was going to be around. So like I'd leave the only times I would eat, if I would try to eat, it would be when no one was home. So I wouldn't leave my room unless anyone wasn't home. And even when I tried to eat, I couldn't, because my stomach was in knots. So, like I said, that after all that had happened. Sorry, guys. They talked to me. They made sure, like, they're like, "Are you sure this is what you want? Are you sure this?" And I kept explaining to them, like, "Yes, I know this is what I want. I know this is what I need." Like, I told them, like, if I don't get help tonight, that this is it. And they understood, and like they applauded me for like knowing I needed help, and knowing like I needed to get help and see somebody. So, like I said, I packed my bag. They talked to me a little bit. Like, they told me, like, because Kylie had little information, like, some stuff I was allowed to bring and wasn't allowed to bring. So, I packed up some books. I packed up a little bit of clothes. I packed up... Nope, phone light's dead. Anyways, packed up a little bit of clothes, some books, some basic stuff I would need while I was there. And I posted a status on Facebook about how, like, I knew this was, like, saying what I was doing. I texted a couple people. I wrote down some phone numbers. Like, I wrote down a couple friends' phone numbers so I could call them and, like, keep them updated with, like, what was going on, keep them updated with vegetation and whatnot. Oh, fuck, guys. Sorry. Anyways, sorry, this is the first time this is the first time I've talked in depth about the lead up to being in Chestnut Ridge on YouTube, because like I said, after I uploaded the video of like my sexual assault last year, I went quiet on YouTube for nearly 6 months, and I needed a mental break after that. But this is the first time talking about it all, and it's just stirring up some emotions and some anxiety. But anyways, so like I said, I wrote down the phone numbers. I did everything. Like, I just got my stuff together, and they drove me to the hospital, and because it was Marlene's birthday, and they were like going out to celebrate and whatnot. And on the way, they were nice enough to drop me off at the hospital. We didn't live far, obviously, but they still dropped me off. And I walked into Ruby Hospital, and I said, I need to admit myself. I'm having thoughts of suicide and self-harming, and like I said, I knew if I didn't get help that night, that was going to be it. So like I said, I went to Chestnut Ridge. I walked into Ruby and told them what I needed and whatnot. So they did a regular protocol. They took all my stuff off me. They took me back to a room and whatnot. And they took my stuff away and put it in a locker because I wasn't allowed to have any stuff in the room with me in case I did hurt myself. They so I sat in a room for what seemed like hours. A couple doctors came in throughout the night, like throughout the time I was there. I got there probably, it was like 10 o'clock, 10:30. I got there. Like I said, I was in the room for a little while. A few doctors came in throughout, and um, sorry guys. So like I said, I laid there for what seemed like ever. I didn't have my phone. They offered for me to keep my phone, but I said I didn't want it. I said I needed. Like I said, I said just put the phone in my bag and put it in wherever you're taking the rest of the stuff. And like I said, a few doctors came in throughout the night. I explained to them about like my sexual assault and how I knew that night was gonna be it if I didn't get help. um, and I talked about everything, and they told me they were gonna admit me. Sorry guys, like I said, this is the first time talking about the lead up and everything, and I haven't talked about this in detail since at all. I don't think I've talked about it at all, other than like with a couple friends and family, like while I was in Chestnut Ridge and whatnot. And like, anyways, so they told me at this point it was like probably 2 or 3 a.m. and they told me they were gonna admit me, and they told me they were gonna admit me and whatnot. So they did a regular protocol. They came in and gave me my stuff back. Well, they didn't really give it back. They just came in. They put my stuff in the room with me, and some people came in and they put me in they were like zip tie kind of things, just so like I couldn't like hurt myself or hurt them in case, like I guess it's standard protocol for like whenever like somebody comes in wanting to admit themselves. So they came in, put me in the zip ties, and they grabbed my bag and whatnot and took me out to their vehicle, and they took me up to the Chestnut Ridge Center, which is the mental unit. And oh my god, sorry guys, I didn't think this video was gonna be this hard to record. So like I said, they took me up to the mental ward. They did their regular thing. They took me upstairs and whatnot. And when I got up to some room, they took me out of the zip ties, and they laid my stuff out on the table, and they started going through my bag. And like there were certain things I was not to have my cell phone. I was not to have my wallet and a bunch of stuff like that, and my medications. Like I told them what medications I was on, but like they gave me medications while I was there. So they gave me all my stuff. I mean, like, they went through my stuff. They put stuff, like, I wasn't allowed to have in a Ziploc bag. And, the stuff I was allowed to have, they put back in my pink duffel bag and whatnot. And they took me back to, like, a room. They took me back to a room, and they did some vitals on me. And the nurse talked to me a little bit, and I filled her in a little bit while I was there. And like I said, they told me, so at this point, like I said, at this point it was about 4 a.m. It was about 4:30 at this point. They took me back to, so they took me into, like, Chestnut Ridge. They told me where my bag was going to be kept. They gave me some instructions on, like, when I could use the phone, when breakfast is, about, like, some of the group activities and whatnot. And, like, I told her, like, I was afraid to sleep. I hadn't slept in a while. So they showed me to my room. She asked if I wanted her help unpacking my bag. I said no. And they gave me something to help me sleep. And for my full first almost 24 hours there, I did nothing but sleep. I barely left my bed. I barely did anything. Like, I think I partook in the first group activity in the morning because they wake me up for breakfast. But I know I didn't do much while I didn't talk about much while I was in, like I said, the first day I was there, I didn't really do much. I just slept. They gave me something to sleep finally. And I remember I slept the almost first full 24 hours I was there. I remember the first day I was there. People tried to call me all day, but I didn't really answer. Like, I called a few people in the morning to let them know, like, what was going on. I called my mom, I called Misty, and I called a couple others. But, and like I said, after the first group activity, I just went back to my room, and I just remember sleeping all day. The only time I remember waking up is when my mom, my friend Sammy, and then her ex-wife was with her, Caitlin, and they came to visit me and whatnot, and they were asking what happened, because, like I said, I didn't fill none of them in. My mom didn't know anything about my sexual assault until that video went online. A lot of my family didn't, and that's what made a lot of this hard. So, while they were there, like I said, they tried talking to me, and I just wanted to sleep. And then my mom left the room for a little bit, and Sammy and Caitlin tried talking to me, asking, like, what was wrong, why I didn't talk to them, and I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to talk about it. I just wanted to sleep, because for the first time in pretty much 3 months, I was sleeping steady. I had like a night terror or two, but the medications they gave me were so strong. I was out like a light. I was out like a light that first full 24 hours. The only meal I woke up for was breakfast. After breakfast and the first group activity, and after I called a couple people, I didn't talk to anybody. Like I said, I didn't eat lunch. I didn't eat dinner. I didn't wake up for snacks. I just slept. So, and after the first day, like one Saturday, because like I said, this was Friday. That was all day Friday, and then Saturday. Saturday, I forced myself. They come in and get your vitals throughout the night and whatnot. And so, like, on Saturday, that's when I forced myself to get up in the morning, to eat breakfast. I forced myself to do in the group activities. And that's when things started getting a little better, and that's when I met with a therapist for the first time. Because, like I said, Friday I wasn't moving. I didn't want to do anything. But Saturday things got a little better, just because, like, I finally had sleep, so I finally had a little bit of a steady mind. I was able to at least think a little clearer. And like I said, I knew I was there for help, so I knew I couldn't sleep the entire time I was there, or I wouldn't have left. And at this point, it was June 17th, because this was Saturday of last year. So, like I said, I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to get up. Saturday, I knew I had to get up. I knew whether I wanted to or not. I knew I had to. I knew I was there for help. I knew I was there to get better. So, Saturday, I got up and whatnot, and I partook in the group activities. I called people throughout the day, and they called me. I forced myself to eat, no matter how much my stomach was turning. And like I said, I was talking to therapists throughout that day, and doing the group activities. And the group activities were helping, because that was the day I made a couple friends that were there. I still talk to some of them, not on a very regular basis, but I do still talk to some of the people I was in there with. And, like, I made some connection with people. Like, I learned other people's stories. They learned, not really a lot of mine, but they learned a little bit of why I was there. And it was nice to know, like, I wasn't alone in that. And, like, the group activities helped, a lot of them. And, like, we learned, like, we had a lot of downtime. Like, there were group activities at certain hours and whatnot. And so, like, in between those hours, though, like, we could, like, there was a little, like, I guess you can call it, like, kind of like a rec room. Like, there was a TV in there. There were board games. There was cards we could play. There were movies. So, there was, and like I said, we were all able to talk to each other and whatnot. And, like, there were snacks in there we were allowed to eat throughout the day if we wanted to. We just had to ask permission. So, Saturday, like I said, things got better. I had a couple visitors throughout the day. I don't remember who came to visit me on Saturday. I'm pretty sure Marlene and Kylia did. I don't remember who else. I think that was it for Saturday. I think Marlene and Kylie were my only two visitors on Saturday. and whatnot. And so, like I said, Saturday things got a little better, and that's when they started me on my medication. Because, like I said, the only thing they gave me Friday morning and Friday was like the sleeping medication, so I was able to sleep. But Saturdays when they started me on my Prozac and the Minipress. And the Minipress, it's a blood pressure medication, but it's studies it showed it helps with night terrors and nightmares and flashbacks for people with PTSD, and which I would come to find out that's one of the things I was diagnosed with while I was in there. And they started me on the Prozac, which was for the anxiety and depression. And there was one, they were giving me an anxiety pill while I was there. I don't remember what it was called. I think it started with a Z or something. It was a medication I was on after I got out of there, but it, like while I was there, it's like something they gave me to help with like, my anxiety. Because like the Prozac, it works, but like it's more like takes a little longer to kick in, while like the anxiety medication they gave me kicked in instantly, or not instantly, within a very short amount of time now. So like I said, Saturday things went well. Like I said, I connected with people in there, and then Sunday is when things really started to get a little better. That's when I was in a great mindset. I knew like I was starting to get better. Like I was actually happy that day. Like I was getting caught up on sleep, because after the night on the Minipress, it was first night in months with no night terrors or flashbacks, and I was able to sleep steady. I wasn't on sleep medication anymore, but I was able to sleep without night terrors. I was able to breathe without feeling like there was a huge weight on my chest. And it was really enjoyable to like have that feeling. So I woke up Sunday in a great mood. I got to talk to the therapist. The group activities were helping a ton. At this point, throughout the day, Saturday and early Sunday, some of the people I connected with in there and made friends with had gone home. Because how Chestnut Ridge worked was, like, the unit I was in, it was a temporary unit. It's where, like, usually people were there anywhere from usually a week tops, sometimes a little longer. But, if you were there any longer, then you got moved to a different unit. But like I said, mine was a temporary unit. I don't remember what the unit was called, but I just remember I was there for a brief amount of time. Or, like, I was there for a couple days, but people who usually are there, it was for, like, a brief amount of time. So after, like I said, Sunday, things started getting better. Again, I was still calling people on the phone. Like, the phone was my lifeline to the outside world. It's how I was keeping in touch with people. It's how I was, like, knowing people cared about me, like, because those of you who called me first, like, who actually called me, like, yes, I called people, but, like, the people who actually called me back, it meant the world to me. And the people who, like, kept in touch with me in there, people like Misty, like, best friend-wise, people like Misty, Sarah, Shao, Marlene, like, at the time, Marlene was my roommate and one of my best friends. Her, and then, like, family-wise, like, my mom. I don't think I called any other family while I was in there. Like, I knew my other family was thinking about me. Like, I knew, like, I wasn't really talking to them. Like, I didn't call them while I was in there. And then, like, friend-wise, like, people like Ashley, my friend Kaylee, a bunch of people like that. Like, they kept in touch with me while I was in there. And just, like, all of them just... And, like, there's others I'm sure I'm forgetting, and I'm sorry. I do still have the piece of paper with the phone numbers I wrote down on it last year, and I know I still have it somewhere. But, like I said, it meant the world to me that, like, people who, like, kept in touch with me while I was in there. But, like I said, Sunday, that's when things got a lot better. Throughout the day, I had a couple of visitors that day. The people who visited me on Sunday were my best friend Shao and my mom. And it was the first time my mom got to meet Shao. And like I said, Shao's one of my best friends, so it was the first time they got to meet each other. And the first time they got to, like, actually, like, talk and whatnot. And, like, it felt really nice to have both in there at the same time, and to have both of them, like, just being there and knowing they both cared as much. I knew my mom obviously cared about me, but, like, Shao, like, had been a good friend up to this point. but it was at this point that Shao proved why I gave her the title of best friend. Not just because she was fun to party with, not just because she was fun to be around, but like because she proved she was had a heart of gold and was an amazing friend. And so, like I said, Sunday things got better throughout the day, and then Monday rolled around. And Monday's when I got out of Chestnut Ridge. And like I said, Monday, I had set my goal, around Saturday is when I set the goal, I was like, okay. Because at first when I went in there, I didn't care how long I was there. I wanted to be there for as long as I needed to get help. But by the time Monday rolled around, Saturday, I was like, okay, my goal was to be out by my birthday. Because like I said, when I went in there, I was going off very little sleep. I wasn't thinking straight and whatnot. But I knew obviously I needed help. So like I said, around Saturday morning, I set a goal. I was like, okay, I want to be out by my birthday, which means I want to get out on Monday, sometime on Monday. So Monday morning rolled around. I met with a therapist for the final time, and they were like, I think you're I kept telling them I'm feeling the best mentally I have in years. And I was just going over with them the progress I've made and the progress I wanted to continue to make after I got out. And they were all the therapist team, they agreed with me. And throughout the day, throughout the morning, I was waiting for that written consent, because there's some mental hospitals in my area that if you check yourself in, you can check yourself out. But Chestnut Ridge, the only way you're leaving, you can admit yourself, but if you get in there, you're not getting out unless the doctors sign you out and they think you're mentally good to go. So I got out, but like I said, Monday I rolled around and I was waiting. I was like, come on, I want to get out, I want to get out, I want to get out. I was calling people throughout the day and just being I'm pretty sure I'm getting out today. I'm feeling great. If I wouldn't have got out in that day, it would have sent me back a little bit. I wouldn't have been as feeling as upbeat and happy as I was that day. Also, real quick, I need to give a huge shout out to the nursing staff that was at Chestnut Ridge while I was there. They helped me so much. The nursing staff, they were so friendly. Some of them were the ones who were in charge of the group meetings. Some of the group meetings were therapists. Some of them were the RNs and the nurses that were there. Some were the doctors that ran them. And just, it was but the nurses, they were so friendly. If you need something, you can go to the desk, you talk to them and whatnot. And just, like I said, they helped me so much. So thank you, the nurses at Chestnut Ridge. If you ever come across this, thank you so much. If you were there from if you were working anytime, June 15th, 2017 to June 19th, 2017, you were a huge part of me getting better while I was there. So thank you. But, so, like I said, Monday rolled around and I knew I wanted to get out. So Monday throughout the day, and once I knew I got my, the doctors and the therapist said they're going to clear me to go home that day, I was so happy. And like I said, I got out and I was over the moon. I was super excited. So I called Shao, and it was either her or my mom that were going to get me, and bless Shao's heart, she's the one who came and got me. And like I said, she didn't have to come get me, but she did. And it meant the world to me that Shao came and got me that day. That was the only friend that offered to come get me, and it meant the world to me. So, again, Shao, I tell you this many times, but I truly owe you the world for a lot of what you've done for me. But, where was I? Oh, so I got out on a Monday, and it was the day before my birthday, and I was very happy to get out. And after I got out, some things did go wrong. Not with my mentality, but I got in a real bad fight with my ex roommate and one of my ex best friends, Marlene, because I did something really stupid when I first got out, and whatnot. So we were fighting, and it put a strain on me mentally. But I knew I was turning 21, and I knew I was going to get extremely intoxicated, which probably wasn't the best way to medicate with like just being on new medication. But obviously, it was 21st birthday. I wanted to go out and celebrate, so that's what I did. Most of my 21st birthday, I don't remember because I was drunk. And then, that full week, just things got better throughout the week, and so we'll fast forward over the coming months now. So several months after, like as the months went by after I left Chestnut Ridge, and like I still saw a therapist for a while. I did stop. Currently I'm not seeing any therapist, and I've stopped medication. Not a smart idea, I know, but I just haven't gotten back because I had some issues with my medication. Prozac could cause weight gain, and it caused me some severe weight gain, and it put a little bit of a damper on my mentality and like my self-esteem, so I stopped taking it. And I haven't gone back to see the therapist, which means I haven't got my night terror medication, which means I do still have night terrors occasionally, but they're a little easier to cope with. But I definitely do need to get back at some point. Right now, it's just a matter, all I have to do is make a phone call and schedule my appointment. It's just been more, I guess, like nervous and nerve-wracking than anything. Like it's been so long now since I've been to the therapist. It's been like since last September, so almost a year. It's just more or less just like it's been so long, just kind of afraid to call. But so as the months went on, hold on, let me drink. But anyways, as the months went on, things got better. Things got better. Like I said, my anxiety and depression was very well under control. The Minipress completely dissolved my night terrors. But the one thing that I think stopped me from going back to like my therapist is they wanted to set me up with a trauma therapist to talk about my past, and I didn't want to dig that deep into my psyche. I didn't want to go back and relive some of my memories, because like while I was in Chestnut Ridge, like during the therapist sessions, like they ask you the hard questions and they want to help you get better, but they need to know about your past. And so a lot of things I had repressed about my sexual assault were resurfaced, and like I was just like, okay, this is as deep as I want to go. But like when in September, when they mentioned they wanted to dig deeper into it, I was just like, no, I don't want to do this. So I canceled my last appointment, then I just stopped going. And like I said, now it's been almost a year. I need to get back because my anxiety's been a little rocky lately. My depression hasn't been nearly as bad. Like I said, I do still have night terrors and flashbacks, but that's a part of the PTSD. I'm going to have that till the day I die. The flashbacks will never go away. Even when I am on the night terror medication, the Minipress, I still have them, just not nearly as frequent, or they're not nearly as intense as they usually are. Because my night terrors, what they consist of is it's pretty much just, it's me floating in a bubble, and I'm watching what happened to me, and I'm not talking about it any further. So, like I said, I stopped going, but over the last year, like I said, things got progressively better for a while, and they still are better now. Like I said, almost a year removed. Just I haven't been on my medications for a little while. I haven't seen a therapist in a while, and I need to get back, I know. My mom preached at me all the time about it, and so do some of my friends. They're like, you need to get back, because it's not good to like fall off of it, because you could relapse, and I don't want to relapse. I don't want to end up back in Chestnut Ridge. There are some days where my anxiety's through the roof. I do feel a little depressed, but I haven't had any thoughts of suicide since last year. So over the last year, things have gotten progressively better. Like I said, I'm in a very good mindset now, and I've learned to cope with a lot of things better than I was last year. But, to anybody who's had any sort of impact on my life over the last year, positive or negative, well, I guess not really negative people. The negative people, you know who you are. I'm not going to mention you by name. I kicked one of you out of my life recently. You guys didn't help much over the last year with recovery, with mentality-wise, but again, everything happens for a reason in life. I've had some amazing people come into my life over the last year. I've become close with some amazing people over the last year, like my best friend Alicia, who you guys will meet. I met my best friend Brittany right after I got out of Chestnut Ridge. Um, my best friend Carly, um, Alicia and Haley. They're two best friends of mine, but they're not new friends. They're just newer people who have the title of best friend. But and everybody else who's had an impact on my life, like recently Donnie and Kayla coming into my life. Um, everybody who's stuck along the way, like Sarah, Sammy, Kyle, my brother, my mom, anybody over the last year who's been of support to me and who has helped me. You've all been a part of this recovery. You've all been a part of me mentally getting better. Even if whether you've been in my life a week, like Donnie and Kayla, or whether you've been in my life 3 years, but you're a new best friend, like Haley or Alicia, or whether you're a newer friend who's been in my life for around the time I got out of Chestnut Ridge, like Brittany. I met her right after I got out of Chestnut Ridge, just a couple days removed. I met her at my 21st birthday party I had a couple days after I got out of Chestnut Ridge. People like Carly, who I met a couple months after. Just to anybody who's had an impact, thank you all from the bottom of my heart. I love you all. Like I said, you've all been a part of me getting better. You've all been a part of this journey to get better from where I was a year ago. Like I said, a year ago at this point, like I said, today's June 9th. So yeah, a year ago at this point, it was about when I made the video, and it's about where I was near suicide. And like I said, June 15th last year, that's when it all changed. That's when I knew that walk home, I forced myself to go to work, and that walk home, I knew it was either get help or tonight's it. You're not going to make it to morning. And I didn't want to do that to people who cared about me. Just know, if you're anybody who's dealt with sexual assault, or anybody who's dealt with mental health issues, or whether you're somebody who's dealing with them and hasn't gotten help, whether you have got help, just know you're not alone. There's many others out there like myself and many, many others who have dealt with sexual assault and rape and any other form of PTSD, like whatever caused your PTSD, whether it was from a war, whether it was from an abusive relationship, sexual assault like myself, or anything like that. Just know you're not alone. Please don't be afraid to seek help. You could save yourself like I saved myself. And the unfortunate ones who never save themselves and unfortunately aren't here with us anymore. Just never be afraid to seek help. So this was the first time I talked about while I was in Chestnut Ridge. This is the first time I've talked about the experiences leading up to it. Because like I said, I went dark after my video last year on YouTube. After I uploaded the sexual assault video, I went dark on YouTube for about 6 months before I uploaded the video. And in that life update, I don't remember what I talked about. I haven't watched it. I know it's about an hour long. I haven't gone back and watched it to this day yet. But I know I talked a little bit about Chestnut Ridge, but I know I didn't go into detail with what led me there and everything. And like while I was in there, I know I didn't cover all that extensively like I am right now. So I hope you can all shed some light on this and take away whatever you want to take away from this. Any advice, hopefully this helps with any situation you deal with or anything. I hope you all enjoyed. Like I said, I hope this helps you all, anyone in some way. And stay tuned for some more videos, because there will be some more positive ones. I've recorded a huge bunch of videos together lately, and they're just all going to get uploaded at once together. So there's probably going to be 20 videos or so that get uploaded together at the same time. So just stay tuned. And I love you all so much. Thank you, anybody who's been a part of this journey over the last year to getting better. Bye, guys.